What do you think of when you hear the term load management thrown around?
It shouldn't be needed, first and foremost. You know, I never wanted to miss a game because it was an opportunity to prove. It was something that I felt like, you know, the fans are there to watch me play. I want to impress that guy.
We come to practice, he's on one leg. Like he was hurt the second year, he was on one leg the whole year and played 82 games. Wow. And so he practiced every day and he played every game on one leg. And so you're like, man, MJ, why don't you just sit up? How can I be the leader of the team and sit out and y'all going through all the credit? I gotta be there.
It might not be in the team's best interest, in your best interest to play all 82. Is that something you thought about at all since you made the goal?
That's a goal, but we'll see.
The next day.
I'm available to go and be in the pro. If OBJ shows up, he might score 100.
And it's just basketball. At the end of the day, it's just basketball.
So if the guys are coming to watch me play, I don't want to miss that opportunity. Now, physically, if I can't do it, then I can't do it. But physically, if I can do it, and I just don't feel like doing it, that's a whole different lens.
Michael Jordan just said something that left LeBron James completely speechless. And I'm not talking about trash talk or some petty interview drama. This was different. This was Jordan stepping out of his decades-long silence to deliver a message so powerful, so undeniable, that LeBron couldn't come up with a single response. Not a tweet, not an Instagram story, nothing. Radio silence. And when you hear what Jordan said, you'll understand exactly why LeBron had no answer. Because this wasn't an attack, it was a mirror. Jordan held up a reflection of what basketball used to be, and when LeBron looked at it, he saw everything wrong with the game today. And the craziest part? Jordan never even mentioned LeBron's name. He didn't have to. Every word, every example, every principle he laid out was a direct challenge to the culture LeBron built over the past decade.
I twist my ankle, and I had a teammate, David Greenwood. He says, you know, you twist your ankle, young fella, come over and sit with me. You know, this is you need to. I said, no, man, I'm trying to make a name for myself. There's no way I can sit. You know, I need to get out there and show what I'm capable of. I want to play. I want to win. I want to make an impact.
And it's just basketball. At the end of the day, it's just basketball.
By the end of this video, you're going to see the NBA completely differently. NBC brought back NBA coverage this season for the first time in over 20 years. Massive deal, huge production. But the real headline was who they convinced to participate. Michael Jordan agreed to do special segments throughout the season. Now, if you know anything about MJ, you know he doesn't do this. The man stays quiet, he shows up for his brand, handles his business, but actual basketball commentary almost never happens. So when NBC announced Jordan would be sharing his thoughts on the modern game, people paid attention. The opening night segment was pretty standard. Jordan talked about legacy, about the evolution of the sport, about missing the competition, nice stuff, but nothing controversial. Then the second segment dropped a week later. The topic was about what makes a true champion, and that's when Jordan started talking about something nobody expected: fans. He told this story about playing in Chicago during the 90s. He talked about looking up at the upper deck during warm-ups and seeing families up there, regular people who worked hard jobs, who saved money for months just to afford those cheap seats in the 300 section. Jordan said those people mattered to him more than anything. He knew some of them might only get to see him play once in their entire lives. Maybe it was a father bringing his son. Maybe it was a kid who begged their parents for a birthday present. Whatever the situation, Jordan understood that for them, this wasn't just another game. This was everything.
You know, I need to get out there and show what I'm capable of. I want to play. I want to win. I want to make an impact. And I twisted my ankle, I taped it up, and I went back out and I played, you know, and I felt that, I always felt that.
And I am at a point in my career now where I don't lose sleep over that. Like, fuck, how did me and Luka lose? And it's just basketball. At the end of the day, it's just basketball.
And then he said the line that changed everything. When I put on that uniform, I wasn't just playing for me, I was playing for that person up in the cheap seats who spent everything they had just to watch me compete. And if I could physically walk onto that court, then I owed it to them to be there. No excuses, no rest days. You show up and you give them what they paid for.
You know, the fans are there to watch me play. I want to impress that guy way up on top who probably worked his ass off to get a ticket or to get money to buy the ticket.
You really cared about the guy who sat in the top deck at the Palace in Auburn Hills to watch you when you came to Detroit?
Yeah, because I know he's probably yelling at me and I want to shut him up.
The interviewer asked him about modern load management, about players sitting out back-to-back games, about the idea that sports science now tells us rest is important for longevity. Jordan paused for a second, then he smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was the same smile he used to give defenders right before destroying them. He said load management shouldn't exist unless you're genuinely injured. He said the game isn't about you, it's about the people who love it. And he finished with this: if you're making $40, $50 million million a year and you can't play 70 games, then you're stealing from the fans who made you rich. Nobody in the studio knew what to say. The host tried to move on to the next topic, but everyone watching knew what just happened. Jordan didn't call out specific names, but he didn't need to. Everyone knew exactly who he was talking about. Within hours, social media exploded. LeBron fans immediately jumped to his defense. They started posting about how many games LeBron's played in his career, about his longevity, about how he's still playing at 40 years old. But then people started pulling up the actual statistics, and that's when things got uncomfortable. Michael Jordan played in 93% of his possible games across his entire career, 93%. That includes 2 major injury seasons where he barely played at all. If you remove those injury years, his percentage goes even higher. Jordan played all 82 games in a season 9 different times. 9 full seasons without missing a single game. Through flu, through minor injuries, through exhaustion, through everything, he showed up. LeBron James has played in 88% of his possible games. Now, 88% sounds good until you compare it to 93. That 5% difference represents hundreds of games over a 20-year career. And here's the part that really stings. LeBron has played all 82 games exactly 1 time in his entire 23-year career. 1 full season, that's it. But the numbers get worse when you look at recent years. In 7 seasons with the Lakers, LeBron has only played more than 70 games once. Most seasons he's sitting around 60 games played. That means he's missing roughly a quarter of every season. And we're not talking about major injuries here. We're talking about rest days, minor soreness, what they call load management. Compare that to Jordan's final season with the Bulls in 1998. He was 35 years old, dealing with injuries, playing every single night at maximum intensity. He played all 82 games that season, then played a full playoff run on top of it, won the championship, and hit the game winner in Game 6 to end his Bulls career. At 35, he gave everything he had because that's what champions do. The statistical comparison isn't even close. And LeBron knows it. That's probably why he stayed completely silent after Jordan's interview. What could he possibly say? The numbers prove Jordan's point better than any argument ever could. To really understand what's happening here, you need to understand that Jordan and LeBron represent 2 completely different philosophies about basketball. These aren't just different playing styles, these are different beliefs about what it means to be a professional athlete. Jordan played in an era where toughness defined you. We're talking about the 80s and 90s when the Detroit Pistons created the Jordan rules, specifically designed to beat him up physically. They would clothesline him, elbow him, knock him to the ground every single time he drove to the basket. The league allowed it. That was just basketball back then, and Jordan never complained. He never sat out because he was sore. He came back harder every single night. The flu game is the perfect example. 1997 NBA Finals, Game 5 against Utah. Jordan woke up that morning violently sick, food poisoning, probably from bad pizza the night before. He was so weak he could barely stand during warm-ups. Any other player in history would have said they couldn't go, but Jordan suited up anyway, dropped 38 points, hit the game winner. Carried his team to victory while literally collapsing into Scottie Pippen's arms at the end because his body had nothing left to give. That's the mentality Jordan's talking about. That's the standard he lived by. And it wasn't just him. Kobe Bryant had the exact same approach. There's this famous story about Kobe where a reporter asked him why he didn't rest more often when he was banged up. His answer? What about the kid in the upper deck who saved his allowance for 6 months just to see me play? I'm supposed to tell him I'm too tired? Kobe understood that responsibility.
Kobe didn't want to disappoint his fans, especially the ones in the 300 sections that saved up to watch him play. I remember asking him why he couldn't just sit a game out because he was hurting. He said, "What about the fans that saved up to watch me play just once?" He never forgot about his fans.
Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Kevin Garnett, Charles Barkley, all these legends carried the same philosophy. They played hurt, they played tired, they played when they didn't want to because that was the job. Bird had chronic back pain so severe he sometimes couldn't tie his own shoes. He still played. Magic found out he had HIV and his first thought was sadness that he couldn't play anymore. These guys loved the game more than anything.
Where is it going? And that's number one. And number two, how do we get it back?
Even for me, I love the NBA game, but then I turn on to a game, right? And then the stars are not playing because of load management. It's hurting the game.
Now look at the modern era. 2016 was the turning point. Kobe retired, Tim Duncan retired, Kevin Garnett retired, all 3 in the same year. The last players who remembered what basketball used to mean. Once they left, everything changed. And who was left to define the new culture? LeBron James. LeBron's philosophy is completely different. He talks about longevity over excellence. He prioritizes his body over competition. He built this entire narrative about being smart with rest days and load management. And look, on paper, it makes sense. Sports science has advanced. We know more about recovery now, but here's the problem. When you're making $50 million a year, when you're supposed to be the face of the league, when fans are paying hundreds of dollars to see you play, you don't get to treat games like they're optional. LeBron created a culture where sitting out became normal, where taking nights off became acceptable, where players started acting like showing up to work was doing everyone a favor, and every young player coming into the league now thinks that's just how things are done. They see LeBron resting, and they think they should rest too. They see Kawhi Leonard missing half the season, and they think that's fine. The standard dropped completely. Here's where things get really interesting. After Jordan's interview aired, reporters started asking other NBA players what they thought. Some stayed neutral, some defended load management, but nobody asked LeBron directly because everyone knew he couldn't defend himself. His own words have already done the damage. Remember what LeBron said after losing the 2017 and 2018 NBA Finals? He said, "It's just basketball at the end of the day." Just basketball. Imagine Jordan saying that. Imagine Kobe saying that. It would never happen because to them, basketball wasn't just a game, it was everything. It defined who they were. When they lost, it destroyed them. Jordan didn't speak to anyone for days after losing. Kobe would go straight to the gym and work out until he physically couldn't move. Losing mattered to them. But LeBron only cares about winning when he wins. When he loses, suddenly competition doesn't matter. Rings don't define legacy. There's more to life than basketball. You can't have it both ways. Either you're a competitor who lives and dies with every game, or you're not. Jordan was a competitor. LeBron is a businessman who happens to play basketball. And then there's the quote that really exposes everything. After the 2011 Finals loss to Dallas, LeBron was getting criticized heavily. He responded by saying, "All the people that were rooting for me to fail, they have to wake up tomorrow and live their same miserable lives." Think about that sentence. He's talking about the fans, the people who pay to watch him play, the people who fund his entire lifestyle, and he's calling their lives miserable just because they criticized his performance. Jordan would never disrespect fans like that, even when people doubted him early in his career. Even when people said he couldn't win a championship, he never attacked the fans. He used it as motivation. He proved them wrong on the court. He respected that fans have opinions and that criticism comes with being great. LeBron acts like fans should be grateful just to watch him, like their opinions are beneath him. This is the culture Jordan's fighting against. This idea that players don't owe anything to anyone, that showing up is optional, that fans should just accept whatever effort level the players feel like giving. And LeBron built this culture brick by brick over the past 15 years. When reporters tried to get LeBron's response to Jordan's comments, his team said he had no comment, no statement, no social media post, nothing. And that silence speaks volumes. Because LeBron always has something to say, he's constantly on Twitter sharing his thoughts, posting cryptic messages, subtweeting people. But when Michael Jordan calls out everything LeBron stands for, suddenly he goes quiet. That's not a coincidence. That's because LeBron knows Jordan's right and there's no good defense. Jordan's comments didn't just affect LeBron, they sent shockwaves through the entire league. Because once Jordan set that standard again, once he reminded everyone what greatness used to look like, every current player had to face the comparison. Kawhi Leonard has missed more games than he's played over the past 5 seasons. He sits out constantly for load management, even though he's only 33 years old. After Jordan's interview, people started asking why Kawhi can't play 70 games when Jordan played 82 at age 35. Kawhi had no answer. Joel Embiid misses games all the time. He's won MVP awards but can't stay healthy enough to play a full season. People always defend him by saying his body breaks down, but Jordan played through broken ribs, sprained ankles, flu, exhaustion, everything. Why does Embiid get a pass that Jordan never asked for? James Harden has turned load management into an art form. He takes games off whenever he feels like it. He demands trades and sits out until teams give him what he wants. He treats basketball like it's just a job, not a passion. And the league allows it because LeBron normalized this behavior. Every single star player right now is being compared to Jordan's standard, and every single one of them falls short. Not because they lack talent, but because they lack the mentality. They don't understand what Jordan understood. That being great isn't just about skill, it's about showing up, it's about respecting the game and the people who love it. It's about understanding that millions of people would give anything to have the opportunity these players take for granted. Think about the regular person working a regular job. Maybe you're a nurse working 12-hour shifts. Maybe you're a construction worker outside in freezing weather. Maybe you're a teacher dealing with difficult students and low pay. You love basketball, it's your escape. So you save up for months to buy tickets to see your favorite team play. You take time off work, you drive hours to the arena, you bring your kid who's been talking about this game for weeks, you get to your seats excited and ready, and then 30 minutes before tip-off, they announce the star player is sitting out for rest. Load management, not injured, just doesn't feel like playing tonight. How would you feel? Betrayed, right? Like you just wasted money and time for nothing. That's what Jordan's talking about. That's the experience fans are dealing with constantly now. And the players don't care. They'll post on Instagram about self-care and listening to their bodies, but they don't think about the single parent who saved up 3 months of grocery money to buy their kid one ticket as a birthday present. They don't consider the diehard fan in the cheap seats who might only get to see their hero once in their entire life. Jordan cared about those fans. Kobe cared about those fans. They understood that every person in that arena made a sacrifice to be there, and they honored that sacrifice by showing up and competing. That's not complicated. That's just basic respect. But in the modern NBA, even basic respect seems like too much to ask. So here's the big question everyone's asking. Can Jordan actually change anything? Can one interview series really fix the culture that's been building for 15 years? And honestly, probably not for this generation. LeBron's not changing. Kawhi's not changing. These guys are too deep into their own way of thinking. They've convinced themselves that load management is smart and that playing fewer games makes them better. You're not going to change their minds now, but Jordan's not trying to save this generation. He's trying to save the next one. There are kids in high school right now who will be NBA superstars in 5 years, and they're all watching, they're all listening. When Michael Jordan speaks, people pay attention. He's the greatest player who ever lived. He's the standard that everyone gets measured against. So when he goes on national television and talks about respecting fans, about playing through discomfort, about understanding your responsibility to the game, these young players hear that message loud and clear. Imagine if Wembanyama decides to follow Jordan's path instead of LeBron's, if he plays every game unless he's genuinely injured, if he respects the fans who pay to watch him, if he builds his legacy on showing up and competing, not on managing his brand and taking rest days. That would change everything. That would force other young stars to step up because nobody wants to be the soft player sitting out while their competition grinds. The best case scenario is that players start feeling embarrassed by the comparison. They hear Jordan talk about playing through the flu, and they realize how weak they look sitting out because their ankle is a little sore. They hear him talk about fans in the cheap seats, and they realize how disrespectful load management actually is. Maybe that shame motivates them to be better. Maybe they start remembering that being a professional athlete is a privilege that millions of people would kill for. But there's also a worst case scenario. These players ignore Jordan completely. They call him old and out of touch. They say he doesn't understand modern sports science. They double down on load management and convince themselves that they're smarter than previous generations. And if that happens, the NBA continues dying slowly. Ratings keep dropping. Fan engagement keeps decreasing. And eventually, the league becomes irrelevant compared to what it used to be. Right now, the NBA is at a crossroads. Jordan's interview forced everyone to pick a side. Do you follow the old school mentality that built basketball into a billion-dollar global sport? Or do you follow the new school approach that's slowly destroying everything those legends created? The choice seems obvious, but in LeBron's era, even obvious things somehow become controversial. 20 years ago, nobody would have questioned whether players should show up and play. That was just expected. That was the bare minimum of being a professional. Now suggesting that guys making $50 million should play 70 games a year is somehow asking too much. That's how far the culture has fallen. Jordan's message is simple. If you can physically play, you play. You honor the fans who paid to see you. You respect your teammates who are counting on you. You understand this game is bigger than you. That's not revolutionary. That's just basic professionalism. But in the modern NBA, even basic professionalism feels like an impossible standard. So here's what we know. Michael Jordan went on national television and said something so powerful that LeBron James couldn't respond. He didn't attack LeBron directly. He didn't need to. He simply reminded everyone what basketball used to mean. He talked about fans making sacrifices to watch one game. He talked about the responsibility that comes with making millions of dollars to play a sport. He talked about showing up no matter what because that's what professionals do, and LeBron went completely silent. No tweets, no Instagram posts, no responses through reporters, nothing. Because what could he possibly say? His entire career contradicts everything Jordan talked about, the culture LeBron built, where sitting out is normal and competition is optional and fans are beneath you. Jordan just exposed all of it with one honest interview. This is bigger than basketball. This is about standards. This is about what we accept from people who are supposed to be role models. This is about whether we want a league full of warriors who battle through everything or a league full of businessmen who treat games like optional meetings. The current generation probably won't change, but the next generation is watching. And maybe, just maybe, one of these young stars will hear Jordan's message and decide to carry that torch forward. Maybe they'll remember that showing up matters, that competing matters, that the people in the cheap seats who saved everything just to watch you play one time deserve to actually see you on the court. That's Michael Jordan's legacy, not just the championships or the highlights or the commercials. It's the standard he set, the example he lived by, the message that greatness requires more than talent. It requires heart, dedication, and respect for everyone who loves this game, and that's exactly what left LeBron speechless, because when you compare his standard to Jordan's, there's no comparison at all.